Hi guys, Jen here with Astrology and Earth Magic. So today we are on the third in our Origins of Christmas series. So today we are talking about Yule, and very fitting because the 12 days of Yule starts when? Today, with the winter solstice. This is the oldest winter celebration, really, and it's the most widely known of any of those celebrations on the Wiccan Wheel of the Year, but people don't really know its pagan history too much. I think they just think it corresponds, it's another name for Christmas. But it also corresponds symbolically with the symbolism of the new moon. It's like new beginnings and fresh starts and seeds planted. Even the snow that falls this time of year is a symbol of purity, transformation, and protection. So if, like me, you like to go out and collect different types of water for different spells and rituals and things like that you want to do, snow can be collected to be used in meditative and introspective rituals, intention settings for the upcoming year when you are in need of a completely purifying spell. Snow is that purifying and new and transformational, and it's really just about purity and starting anew and just kind of wiping your slate clean. So if you're looking to have a spell that really is just clearing out all the just nonsense and negativity that you've picked up throughout the whole year before, snow is what you want to use for a good base if you want to use a liquid base. So Yule is a time of a quiet peace and reflection. So a lot different than what we've talked about with Saturnalia and with Christmas itself, when Saturnalia is all about debauchery and parties, and so is Christmas, Christmas parties with work parties, family parties, and spending money and all this, and just the hustle and bustle and all that you think about. Yule is very different. So Yule is a time that you want to just kind of be at peace and just take it a little bit slower and slow down and just have some quiet around you, maybe just play some nice music in the background instead of just that loud, to just kind of quiet your brain down as well. This is a time to reflect upon the past and our ancestry, traditions that have been passed down from generation to generation. And of course you see that with Christmas because we have so many Christmas traditions, like, oh, well, my family has been doing this for years. So, even with Yule, that's kind of where that all kind of gets its start from, is using those traditions and bringing those traditions that our family members from the past have taught us into nowadays, and then passing that along to our future generations. My cat's getting all up into everything. So this is the time of year where the veil between the living and the dead is also at its thinnest. So you want to take time to think about those that you've lost before and even talk to them. They're right there and they're listening. So just talk to them, talk about them, tell stories about them. It's like, oh, I remember my grandmother used to do this, my grandfather used to do this. Those loving stories that just keep them close, even if they're already passed. Also, great time of year to leave out offerings. You can leave offerings for them. We're going to be making actually some Yule prosperity cookies later in the video, so you want to stay tuned for that. But you also want to leave out offerings for nature, because, witchcraft and Wicca is all about nature and respecting nature. So when, you want to give back to nature. So we love to feed the deer in our yard. So we live in the woods, so we put some, corn and grains out at the edge of the woods. Also smashed up pumpkins from, of course, Samhain that we just had. So we smash up those pumpkins, leave them out there, and they come and they graze on them. Also other woodland creatures, like we have fox that come along and tons of squirrels, of course. We also like keeping our bird feeders full, and because they have a difficult time this time of year. So remember what we talked about with Saturnalia. This is a time when the sun moves into the sign of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. So it's about working, and it's a tough time of year. We know that with this snow and the cold and, trying to keep our homes warm, trying to, pay the bills, trying to buy Christmas presents and all that, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. Well, the animals are going through just as much work because the food is that much harder for them. So why not give them a little hand? And here's a couple pictures and videos of what we get to see in our backyard.
And strong to prevent Putin from moving into those NATO countries. I think I'll refrain from describing what they might be doing here in the Pagan.
So having them visit us is so much fun to watch. So this is also a great time to connect with nature and feel that you're truly a part of it, because you're helping them, they're helping you, they're giving you that entertainment. And so it's kind of like a give and take. So of course, we also have the Yule log, and that is a symbol of warmth and light on these cold and dark nights. And it's a symbol of the returning of the light. We don't actually burn our Yule log because we just decorate it, filled with evergreen, pine cones. We have shedded antlers that were falled in the woods out back. Chili, who's in most of these videos, you see her all the time. She actually found one of them for us. Also dried oranges this time of year. They represent the sun, and atop we have the candles. So we have the white candles on ours. I'm going to show you a video in a second to honor the sun and its return. You can also use red candles or whatever color that you like. Red is a symbol of the season. It's that Yule candle color. Also, you can use green, that kind of represents nature and new beginnings. So any color's nice. We like to use white. So you can see here, we have it on a natural. We have our white candles, and we have the greenery and our dried oranges and a little bit of red thrown in, and some pine cones and our antlers, and that is our Yule log. As you see, we don't burn it. I use this every year because I just love it, but it is one that my husband cut down right in the backyard, and he is really handy to have around sometimes for all my little ideas like this. So as we close the year and begin anew, we want to start with a clean slate, really. So how do we release those old toxins that really no longer serve you? Release those negative things, again, that you have gathered all year long. This can be like hatred, also jealousy, alcohol, drugs, even relationships. Untie those negative shackles so that you can feel free to move towards a more positive life. And how to ensure that we have the luck with our new intentions and planted seeds. I'll show you kind of an example of, if you do have an altar, how you can set it up this time of year, and to try and get the most out of your intentions as possible. If you actually put your effort into saying something out loud, it makes you a little more apt to make it happen. So here is how I'm setting up my altar this year. So you always want to have a Yule candle, and a Yule candle is normally red. So you want to keep a red candle and burn it every day. Now remember, keep it in a place where it's not going to accidentally get blown out, because you want to always snuff it out with intention at the end of the day. So you put it out on your own. Don't let it get blown out, because that can actually be bad luck. So I have some of my favorite things here on my altar. So I always have my representations of air here with my sword and my bells. I have my fire with my wand. I have water, and again, this is where you put the water that you've collected for whatever spell that you want to use. If it is, you want to get things moving, you want to use water that's movement. If you want that purity spell, use the snow. And then, of course, all of our grounding with all my rocks that I've collected in all my favorite places. This one is my ultimate favorite. It's from Idaho, but I also have my sulfur here from, it adds a lot of intenseness because it is sulfur, but it was from one of my favorite places in the world, which is Yellowstone. I also have my tower rocks over here that I've gathered all from out west. So we also want to focus on the candles that we have. So we do have our Yule candle here, but we also have our other candles that we're going to be using for the ritual. So of course, red, green, and that is that newness, that is that taking action towards your future. We want to have white for our purity, and then gold. So you also want to have stones, and you like to incorporate stones. So I have my sunstone, moonstone, of course, because I always have them represented. And then you can use whatever you want, whatever kind of you're looking for. So I have the clear quartz here, kind of for keeping an open mind and that purity. And then I have mucilite and dragonstone. So these are both beautiful red stones. You can use whatever red stones that you want. The color of the stone is really what matters, and that is what brings that fire and that intensity and that newness that puts that fire under you to just get you moving. And then of course I have my moss agate here, which is about those new intentions and growing those seeds and developing what you've made. So you can do the intentions this way. I also have my nest for new beginnings. Of course, that nest I got a while ago, and it was definitely empty. So we knew that it was empty for over a year before we brought it in. You don't want to just go grabbing some nest and having that in your house that animals use, because of course you want to give back to nature. So this can help. And if you are looking to maybe make a little bit of extra money this year, I am going to show you how to make a prosperity Yule cookie next. So I hope you enjoy that. So we are going to incorporate some of the wonderful flavors of this season into our Yule prosperity cookies. And whatever you make, these ingredients can really just give you that warm and wintry Yule feeling. So flavors like cardamom, herbs like rosemary, bay, juniper berries, also cinnamon, of course, gives you that good luck and that new starts, those cloves, nutmeg, ginger, allspice, all those flavors and smells. You can just taste that Yule flavor in it. So with our cookies, here's the ingredients that you're going to want to gather if you'd like to make them. So for our Yule cookies, of course, you're going to want to use some all-purpose flour, and we're putting that right in. You also want to have a little bit of ground nutmeg. Oh, that just adds that wonderful flavor to it. Also, we want to add some cinnamon. So ground cinnamon is great, especially if you buy it already ground. Makes it so much easier. Then you want to add a little bit of salt, of course, to give it that little salty and sweet. And then allspice. So I ground this allspice myself. If you can find it ground, then I would definitely go that route, but I could not find it. So those are our dry ingredients. You're going to want to get those all mixed up together until they're all blended, and it's going to turn into like a beautiful, like light brown kind of earthy color. With our wet ingredients, we have some butter, we have an egg, we have some lemon extract. We also want to incorporate, so this is going to bring our prosperity to our prosperity cookies, and that is with our bay leaves. Now you're not gonna eat them, you're going to use those more as a decoration on top. And I'm actually gonna add some dried cranberries to mine. I think it's gonna give that kind of festive flavor, that little punch of color, and my husband just loves them, and he's been begging me to make cookies with the cranberries in it, so thought I'd make him happy with that. So let's put our ingredients together and see what we have. So next you want to take your sugar and your melted butter and really mix them together. Now, I melt my butter. If you have a mixer, I do everything kind of by hand. If you have a mixer, you don't have to necessarily melt it. You can cube it and throw it in and mix it with a blender, but I just use my hand, so I melt the butter. Once that is incorporated together, then you want to add your vanilla extract in. And then you want to add your egg. And, lost my shell. And eggshells are great to also leave outside for the animals. The animals can use those for nourishment as well, especially like predatory birds and things like that, even though my dog Chili likes to get them. So we incorporate all this together. Then we're going to mix the two together and we're going to chill it for a couple hours. Now that our dough is nice and firmed up, we want to break off little pieces here so you can roll them in this flour mixture. I have it with some sugar, gives it a little bit of shine. Put it on some parchment paper, give it a little press. You can even use cookie presses that have pictures. You can use cookie cutters that make, cute shapes. And then you want to add your bay leaf for prosperity, especially if you're giving these as gifts. So our cookies are ready to go. So I don't put bay leaves in all of them because when you're giving them as gifts, it's kind of hard to package them that way. But I'll use this one as our top cookie and then maybe give a bag of 3 to each person. So they are popping now in the oven for about 10-15 minutes until they are golden brown and all done. So I am wishing you and yours a very blessed Yule season and maybe even some prosperity for the new year. Cheers.